Hello, and welcome to Backcountry Wood Products. Join us today as we conclude our series on the assembly of the Range Road EcoPro 300 firewood processor. So before we get started making adjustments to our processor, we first need to address the engine. We need to first, of course, simply take off your warning tags here, and then you need to get into your toolbox here and get out your manual. And you can go over it for oil recommendations and fuel recommendations on your engine. So once you have oil and gas in your engine, before you start it up, we need to go over your emergency shutoff here. We need to make sure that it's in the up position. Simply twist it to make sure that it's in the up position so that the engine will start. If not, it will not start. We also want to make sure that you only use it for emergencies. Don't use this as a regular basis just to shut off your machine, because if you don't and you have your key on, your battery will die. Also want to make the point of when not in use, you need to make sure that your engine is covered and this is covered, especially when outside. To adjust your tension on your chainsaw bar here, simply loosen your 13mm bolts, and then you have an adjustment screw here, which is a 5mm Allen screw, and adjust it whether to tighten it or loosen it. And we need about 1/4 to 1/2 inch of gap here as when you pull on the chain here. Now we're going to check the adjustment on the chainsaw actuator. The chainsaw actuator is what shuts off our chainsaw bar here when it's in the up position. To check the adjustment, you just simply check this bolt down here and make sure that it is engaging our valve down here. If it is not engaging our valve, you might need to adjust your bolts up here, loosen them up, slide this bar up, and retighten your bolts to make sure that our bolt down here is engaging the valve. Now we're going to check the adjustment on the safety cage bypass valve, which is located right here. Currently the cage is in the open position. When we close it here, we want to make sure that there is no chrome showing here in this valve here. So with the way we have it right now, we look good. If you do have chrome showing after you have it closed, you need to loosen these two bolts right here, and there's a plate on the back here. Just slide it forward as needed, retighten your bolts, and make sure that when you close it, that there is no chrome showing here on your valve. Now we're going to make the adjustments to the output conveyor here. First I want to say that you want to make sure that the belt isn't too tight so that you prematurely wear out your belt. You want to leave a little bit of slack in here so that it moves the firewood, but don't over tighten it. Anyhow, getting back to tightening it up here, you tighten it by simply adjusting these two T-bolts here. And as you're tightening it, if you have it running and it's tracking towards you in this position, you simply want to just tighten this side up and it'll track back over to the other direction, and vice versa if it's tracking to the other direction. So if you have your output conveyor belt running good on top and you're having some issues on the bottom with it tracking to one side or the other, to adjust it, simply loosen these two bolts here, and you have a little adjustment bolt here that you can adjust it from side to side, and then just tighten up your bolts. This here is the control valve for the output conveyor. Before starting the engine, you always want to make sure this is in the off position. This also can adjust your speed on your output conveyor. You can simply just turn it here and adjust it to the right speed that you want for yourself, or turn it on full blast, but always make sure that it's in the off position when you're starting the engine. Next, we're going to go over the oiling system for your chainsaw. Simply take the cap off and fill it up. You have a nice little eyeglass here that you can see how much oil you have in it. And to adjust the flow, you have a on and off valve, and here is your adjustment valve for how much oil flow. So basically you want to turn this thing on, adjust your flow, and then basically from then on you can just open and close it as you need. I do want to make clear though, whenever you shut your machine off, make sure you shut your valve off or you will empty your tank onto the ground. So we still need to add hydraulic oil here to the processor. You can use AW22, 32, or 46 depending upon your climate. It takes about 8 gallons to fill the processor, and you have a little sight glass down here you can see while you're filling it up. You want the oil to about halfway on the sight glass level. And what I like to do is start your engine, run your hydraulic ram here a little bit, and double check and make sure that your oil is still about halfway through on your sight glass. So last, we need to check the ram hood adjustment. These are set from the factory, so unless you have an issue, you don't need to make any adjustments. But to check the first one, we start our engine and engage our hydraulic ram here as if we were going to split a piece of firewood. Then we need to see that this bracket here is hitting our bracket here, which will return the hydraulic ram before maxing it out. To check your other adjustment, run your ram as if you were splitting a piece of firewood. Watch the ram as it returns to the home position, and if this is flush in here, then you're good to go. So thank you for watching our series on the assembly of a Range Road EcoPro 300 firewood processor. We hope you enjoy your processor, and until next time, keep on splitting.